Hello everybody and welcome to another video. So today I was looking through David Lynch YouTube channel and David Lynch every single day uploads his daily number. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to use the number that he came up with today, 8th of August, and see what we could do with that. And the number of today was 1. So let's see what we can come up with the number 1. So what I thought was we could do a mirroring exercise where we start with one single fold. We have our rectangular piece of paper here. It doesn't really matter the ratio or the size. And we fold it in half like this, and then I open it up so that the fold is on the mountain side like this. And now I click a point. I select a point just by, I can use my nail or I can use just my finger, but point is that I click on a point, pun intended. And now it does this. Add that point. Now, depending on your accuracy, you're gonna get either 1 or 2 points. You want just 1, so just push so you get 1. Now that that's done, you start to squeeze on one side. So I'm gonna squeeze on my right, and as I squeeze, you're gonna see that after the point is gonna turn into a valley, yeah? So I'm squeezing, and then here my valley turns into a mountain, or vice versa, depending on where you're looking at it, right? Hold on now, there we go. Alrighty, good. So now that's folded, and now I have this thing that's moving. This thing that's moving, this thing. Okay, so the idea is these two vertices are touching. These two vertices are touching because we established that by folding in half to the, actually these aren't touching, but that was on me. The point is we can choose an angle, any angle that we want to establish here. So I'm gonna set up just this, and then I'm just gonna commit and fold like this. Now, what we're going to try and do is take advantage of certain attributes of this fold. First off, we have a mountain line here. Let's open it up to analyze a little bit of what we got. Okay, we got simple mountain, 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 and the valley between them. This line that got the one we started with has now turned into 2 folds, and that compresses into this thing. Okay, so I want you to pay attention, close attention to these mountains. These mountains. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shoot a valley that hits on these mountains. Now, it can be any angle at all. Now, if you want to look more interesting, make many of them, but just for the sake of for the proof of concept, let's start by folding something like this. It can, again, be any angle, as long, but notice that what I'm folding is on the inside. I'm lifting this paper up, making sure that it comes into contact with this mountain edge right there. And then I fold it, whoop, and then I stop because I hit the point, and then I return here. And now this can also go either way. I can actually choose the angle at which this ends up ultimately hitting. So I'm going to choose this. So it's not technically a reflection, and it's not a refraction either, but it is changing a little bit, but it's still flat. And what's cool about the way that we're doing it now is that, as you can see, this line is not straight. This is the line that we started with, I believe, or I don't know if it was this one actually, probably this one because this one's the valley. You're going to see that it hits and then bounces, but it creates this other one too. So we're getting some play here. Now we're getting into fun land. So let's do the same thing for the other side, but let's spice it up. Let's try and find another angle, another point of contact, but same deal. Mountain over here, a valley inside, it comes up and it hits and it's good. And we fold this, and again we can choose. And this is the point of contact right here, right? That's a point of contact, and we can choose where this goes. Let's say that we want to choose it there. And let's open it up, see what we got. And we got this little thing. We got a zigzag, and it's nice because we were sort of playing with the audience, if there was any, as to where these lines come from. But we're contracted, and so what I want you to think about now is how do we keep applying this forward. So for instance, we have this mountain right there, so we can choose also on this mountain where to hit it and repeat this process almost to give a little bit more of a curve on this one. So I'm going to do this once more on both sides. So there's one. Here's my mountain. I do a little fold there. Again, same deal, a valley inside, it hits my mountain, and then I choose where it lands, where it ultimately descends, and there we go. So this exercise is proving to be quite interesting. At least to me, it's quite interesting. Namely because we can choose just a point and then just bounce it out from there, and so the process continues. Now remember that when we did this, the point we clicked was a mountain. So we just have a single zigzag right now and it collapses flat. So this follows Kawasaki's theorem, which I'm not going to get into now, but you can Google that, Kawasaki's theorem. I think it's Kawasaki, I forget the name, but I think it's Kawasaki. But if you look just mathematics and paper folding, you'll find it. So okay, so now what I'm going to propose is that we repeat the process, but now moving it towards this side, and this side we're going to do it on the other. But pay attention to the mountain. So we have a mountain here, and I'm going to click a point. Again, same deal. And the idea, of course, is that as this sort of descends, again, like on that point, this line is going to change from a mountain into a valley. That's the idea. Now make sure that the rest of the mechanism is activated. That is, that this sequence is active. So as we sort of force it, we can see that it's sort of going to want to become something, depending on the angle we kind of give it. But this is all tentative. All I'm doing is just clicking on certain points, just clicking the point, clicking the point, point, click, point, click. So all of these lines are changing. This one is going from a valley to a mountain to a valley, from a valley to a mountain, from a mountain to a valley. That's the idea. But as we bring it down, we also want to make sure that it's flat foldable, which means that it's not just going to be an arbitrary set of points. Rather, we're going to have to actually find where these are optimal. So it takes a little bit of fiddling, but finally I think we got something here. Also, what I want to try and do is use the same line. So I'm going to try and not get out of the line which I already have, but you know, I could get out of it and so even make different kind of symmetry lines of sorts. And then that becomes that, and boom. So I flattened it. I made sure that I was following the same zigzag lines. I didn't get crazy. Maybe I did a little bit. This one seems to have gone off the deep end, and that's part of it. Oh, sorry, that's part of it. So now let's do the same thing on the other side. So I remember, when we press points like this, we want to make sure to press them on the mountain because it's easier as it's going up, and we choose that now it's going down. And so now this, well, this one is a valley, so now this one has to be a mount of, yeah, like this. You can even do it like this, where you just select a point and just start to bring it down on it. And as you're doing this mechanism activation, I call it, you know, you compromise, you commit, sorry. So I commit to that line right there. And then now I have a point of contact, see? Now on that point of contact is where we bounce back, so I can activate my line of symmetry here. Or at least if I were to want to keep it, but I can change it. I don't have to commit to it. It's just, what I do have to commit is that it does have to be in contact with it. That's the only thing. All the rest of it is just fluff. It's just arbitrary stuff. You can choose to do with it what you will. And if you just flatten it, just make sure that there's no crumpling when you flatten. That's also very important. This will inhibit that, you know, that the fold is actually a straight line and not some crumply mess. And so as you can see, we're having now sort of a system. Now it's actually becoming like a thing, and we can keep this going ad infinitum. We can just ad infinitum, is that how you pronounce that? Or, you know, we can do some bouncing around, but one more trick before we go, because we have been here for about 10 minutes, which I think is a good time to stop. So anyway, so notice that I have here a little mountain like this one. Like that's a little like crest thing. So what I can do is I can just make sure that I can isolate it, like this area, right? And I just do a fold on it. Just a straight fold, no rush, no nothing. Just a fold that goes right through it. And then I open up. And I'm going to see that there's some lines there. Can you see that? Can you see this little kite looking thing? So now my goal is to then properly accommodate the valleys and the mountains in order for this to sync. This is actually the name of this move. It's called a sync. So we sync properly, we just do some clicking. Notice what I'm doing with my nails here. I'm driving across the line so that the mountain becomes a valley, and so mountains become mountains, and everything is in its place. Everything is where it should be, where it needs to be. And we're letting the thing be. We're trying to just take advantage of nature, using it to our benefit, but not in a malevolent way, but a benevolent. Not malevolent, but benevolent. Meaning that we're trying to harness the power of the folds for our aesthetic, cosmetic benefit. I want to see what we can do, yeah? And there we go. And so now that does that. Now that's sort of sunk into it. And we can play around with that kind of syncing. We can do it one side, we can do it on the other side. For instance, we can turn it over. And you can see that this little mountain there also has a little point that goes across. And if we were to be careful, we can do a fold that doesn't cross on the other side and repeat this kind of zigzag move. This kind of crushing, sinking idea. So this is a great free-form exercise, and you don't have to be precise, but you just have to know what you're doing. And by knowing what you're doing, you just have to pay attention to what you're doing, and then you can do anything, because this zigzag exercise can just, you can take it as far as you want to take it. And you can create all kinds of effects, like for instance this one is one of my favorites because it looks kind of like it's tucked in there. It looks just really, really set. It's just almost, I don't know, I like the way it looks. And it's flat foldable too, but again, we're just using this as a corrugation and it's moving this way. It's sort of collapsing in this sense. And as much as we can keep improvising things, we can also have a very specific method as to what we want to accomplish, but that's not the point of this exercise. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me just, before we go, I want to show you something that I did today. And this was actually the original one for this video. I put it up on the wall, but I pretty much just did this following this exact same procedure. Same procedure, but then what I did was I colored it one face alternative. So it's like this one gets colored, or let's see a more obvious point. Let's see that point, for instance. So that point has that point right there, right? So that point has 1, 2, 3, and 4 faces. It has a white, a blue, a white, and a blue. And that's the idea, that it's always even. If it's flat foldable, it'll be even. And the sum of the corners of the same color will add up to pi, or 180 degrees. And that happens at all the points. And the proof of this, or not the proof, but like the demonstration of it, is that this is like a law. It's a theorem, but it's like, it works for, I guess I'm saying things that are not mathematically rigorous. You have to be careful with what you say when you're doing math. It's not a law, but it seems to apply to paper. It seems to apply to the conditions set up by normal convenient paper, that if you can actually do this move where everything is flattened, like this is right now, you can see that even like the shape it has, it's pretty cool, right? Looks almost like like a something. But point is that if you do that and it's flat, then these arrangements will follow Kawasaki's theorem. And that's what the theorem says. And you can do this coloring of like one color, then the other color not, then the next color yes, the next color no. And you can do this little sequence of patterns, and you can make these very beautiful coloring sequences. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, definitely recommend it. If you're new to folding or expert in folding, this is just a great exercise to try and test your abilities for bouncing off lights. And it's not reflection, because reflection implies that the angle is complementary, which being flat foldable, it actually would be. Yeah, it actually would be. So yeah, these are reflections, but more like sporadic reflections, not what you see in Islamic patterns where the reflections are very, very specific. Something else that we can try really fast is just having this thing as is, and then here we can sort of choose where we want this thing to curve, or how we want it to curve. So for instance, I can fold like that. Let's see this one. I'm going to commit to that one. And let's fold this one to the top. So it kind of has to go a zigzag kind of way. I mean, experiment, you got to see for yourself. But see, I folded that, and now you can see here that because of that overlapping fold, it's sort of been spread in all of the layers. And so it does this thing that now I can sort of use those folds to just activate very naturally the rest of it. And you know, some things might change, some lines might get crossed over or, you know, replaced entirely, and some bounces or whatever, you know. We improvise, we roll with the punches. And that's the idea of this exercise, to improvise and to try and see what else you can come up with, how you can sync creatively, so it's not just like these little kites. You can get all sorts of shapes and get the folds to hit all the way over here and whatnot. I mean, you can do all kinds of things. So this is a lot of fun. I love this exercise. I thought I'd share with you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you next time, and for now, take care. Bye-bye.